We take a ferry to Guernsey. We visit a number of German museums on the island. We visit a 13th century fort. And finish our anniversary with a bang. Now don't be smutty. Then back at the boat to fix that darn template.
Hello there, welcome to Messing About with a narrowboat on a very windy deck catamaran, fast moving boat.
We're on the ferry to Guernsey for our hollybots.
Our 40th wedding anniversary.
Never been to Guernsey before. Been to Jersey, been to Alderney in the Channel Islands. Never been to Guernsey. Looking forward to exploring. Oh, the hotel's nice. Up on the hill, bit of a sea view. So we visit to the Guernsey German Occupation Museum. No, we didn't film inside.
You wouldn't probably been allowed to anyway.
It's a bit harrowing.
Yeah.
Really sad, kind of upsetting, but equally terribly interesting.
Yes.
You know, bloody wars.
Yeah.
Last day of our holiday, we've come to visit somewhere less gruesome. So, Castle Cornet, nothing to do with ice cream. Originally built in the 13th century, was demolished from an explosion in 1647 and rebuilt right on the tip of St. Peter's Port in Guernsey. So in 1066, when William of Orange became King of England, Guernsey became English and has been so ever since. So this part's from the 13th century. I heard the tour guide saying that they built the walls with lots of acute angles to minimise the possibility of attack. Have you ever wondered when you look at medieval castles, you see all these little holes along or up the wall, and you think, oh, they must be for rifles or something. They weren't. They were scaffold posts. They would put wooden posts through the holes, layer the planks above them, and then move up a level. So that is medieval scaffolding. Yeah, so that's the end of the Holy Bobs.
It is indeed.
End of the anniversary.
That doesn't sound good. The end of the anniversary, the end of end of everything.
What have we got left to live? 20 years on average.
Yeah.
So we might manage another 20 years.
Well, you know, we'll come back here on our 60th then, will we?
I don't know.
Come back in our 60th
Might not manage a year after we're living together on the boat.
Yeah, well.
If you get a chance, come to Guernsey. It's a great place. It's quite small. We've been bombing around on the bus. We didn't need a car.
No, it's
full of history.
It is lots to do.
The German occupation stuff is pretty harrowing. The islanders tell it like it is or was.
They do.
So don't expect
no
punches pulled when you visit those museums. That's why we didn't film them.
No, you probably weren't allowed to anyway, but yes. It's,
walking around those museums, it was
it just hits
quiet.
home.
Everybody was really quiet.
And solemn and respectful.
But other things like this,
Yeah.
the Castle Cornet.
Cornet.
Yes, that one. No.
No, just one Castle Cornet.
It's been kind of cool. The restaurants have been fab. We've eaten so well.
We've eaten lots of fish, clearly.
Lots of fish.
If you like fish, it's heaven.
Fresh fish
If you
pulled
don't
in
like
from the
fish,
harbour.
well, yes.
So that's it. Holiday over, back to boat building. Yay, holiday over, back at the boat.
Back to the grind. Well, back to the boat.
Starting the lining again. Time to make a better template. Now the first job to do today is sort out the brain fart from last episode. And thank you everybody for the comments. While we were on holiday I went on a how to use a tape measure course. The general conclusion was I'd measured it wrong. And I had, but not where you're thinking. So the diameter of the hole is actually correct. Well, my template did its job and I had measured the radius and the diameter, etc., and took into account 15 mil. That is correct. The issue is that I actually put the hole in the wrong place on the board. So when I put the board up to the wall, it was all off. It's out there, which is 15 mil. And that's why I thought it was bigger than it was. I didn't get the center point correct. So my idea was to use the bottom edge as a datum. So if I put that bottom edge on the bottom end of the ply lining, then it should measure up. But because I've mismeasured where that cuts, the hole looks weird, and that's what confused me. But the hole is the right size, so I need to take off 15 mil off the top and bring it up, and I'll have to use the top as the datum, not the bottom. And I know it's lined up because if I mark the center line of that and I can follow the line down, I've got a center point. Okay, fixed. I took an appropriate amount off the top. My measurement was wrong because I measured it from the wrong datum. I forgot to take into account the roof lining size, and that gave me a wrong center point here, which gave me, the window was absolutely the right size. When I was putting it back up and looking at it, well, let's just put it down to having a brain fart. Just went all wrong. But I've taken the amount I needed to off of the top, and it now sits exactly where it should be. So thanks everyone for the comments. It really did get me thinking. I've measured it wrong really badly, and I had. So the last thing we did today was try to think about the outside painting job. And we wanted to do some panels. It was really just too hot to work on the boat, and in fact touching the boat, putting that temporary masking tape up was burning our hands while we were trying to do it. So we were thinking a two-colour boat with a darker background colour and lighter panels. But we've been watching videos from John Bernard, who's Narrowboat painting. They're really good, informative videos. And one of the things he was saying is that where you've got a water drainage channel, don't make a coloured panel around it, because it will stain the panel, and it's easier to leave that on the black or the darker colour. The problem with that, and where our hatches are, it kind of means we don't have a good symmetry on the panels. So we're going to have a wee and have a wee think about it again, just to see if we can get it to look a bit neater. Well, it's a few days later. Lots of few days later, if I'm honest. Things have got in the way. So we're back at the boat, and I'm attempting to try out my template. And it's taken me a while, I have to confess. There has to be a bit of an easier way to do this, I think. So I've got a sheet of ply up on my own, and I've balanced it on two posts that I made to the right height, just to give me some leverage. And now I'm going to go outside at the window and do the markup. So I've measured the centre point of that lip, and then I've marked the centre, and I know then that from there down to the bottom is a certain distance. Well, apologies for the LED flickering, but there's my template. I took my mark from the window there, and I measured down. Don't worry about the others, were from the previous template, but I measured down, so I know that distance is the distance from there to 15mm below, and all these are the same. So I'm just going to screw it on, and then I'll flip it over. And this is the point where you just hope to goodness you're not about to ruin a very expensive piece of plywood. And now I just need to make a pilot hole for the trim router. I'm not going to go too far because I don't want to wreck the other side. Okay, so I've swapped the plunge router for the trim router, and the idea is this little wheel, the wheel will catch the template and cut the circle out. And that's really good. It's a clean hole. There's absolutely no breakout on that ply. However, I think what I will do is the next one I do, I'll put some screws a bit closer. It's a bit saggy there, but it didn't really impact on anything. Good. I cut a hole with a router. So it's the next day. Went home last night to edit the video, and I didn't take any video of me putting up the lining. So there we go, it's up. My back's a bit sore this morning, I have to confess, for lifting bits of wood, plus I brought in the rest of the ply for the rest of the lining. So jobs today, take it all back down, hey. And I started to mark out where the sockets are going to go. So I'm going to take it off, mark the sockets. But before I take it off, I'm going to draw myself a couple of lines, yeah, so that I know exactly where to put it back, because it took me so long just shifting it along a little bit and round here a wee bit and moving it a couple of mil that way and a couple of mil this way. So yeah, let's draw some marks and we'll get it lined up. So overall, I'm really happy. The template and the routering with the trim wheel bit worked really well. Now I've seen people do that with some circular thing on the windows, but because I wanted the gap for the window lining, I felt that was a better way to do it. And it's apart from all the faffing and getting the measurements what I thought was wrong and actually right, and I was just being stupid. But once I figured all of that out, Easy way to do it. So now I've got a template for the remaining 7 portholes. Whoa, that's really important, and the reason why I was procrastinating and deliberating over it is it's really important to get this first board right, because that gives me the line for the rest of the board up. And as I've said before several times, we don't want joins. I didn't really want a join above the windows, so getting that right. Okay, so we've got a 4-foot bit there that we have to cut, but that's half a board. Perfect. I'm chuffed to bits with that. Really chuffed. I've just made a wee drilling template for the screw holes. So when I put the boards up, I can put that on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need to measure every hole again. Just shove the template up. Off we go. Yay. So, time to break out my sockets jig. Adjusted for the height that I need. Well, I have to confess, I'm pretty pleased with myself. Everything's working. Got the sockets there, they're in the right place for the the galley. So, I'm going to start on the next bit. It's quite sunny today, after 3 days of rain. Typical bloody British weather. Yeah, so thinking about this sheet of wood. This is our hatches. Now, conventional wisdom would be put the sheet of wood up, draw around the hatch, cut out the hole, job done. But just like the portholes, I think I have to consider the window lining. And we are going to have a nice piece of oak lining on the window, which is fine. But I'm looking at that thinking, should I or shouldn't I? So that's going to be quite deep, nearly 40 mil deep, which is quite an expensive bit of oak, because that's 30 mil here. I don't know if you can see that. Hold on. So that bit's 30 mil, and that bit with the lining will be nearer 44 mil. And that's quite an expensive chunk of oak. And given that there's 3 hatches, I'm kind of half thinking maybe I could half the width a bit by taking a piece of batten and put it on, and then that's only 15 mil bit of oak, so I can buy the expensive oak but half it, and it will give me the size, give me 2 sides of the window really, so half my cost. Why is that important? Well, because once we cut out this hole, just like the portholes, I need to go back a bit for the lining. And that's where I started to think, well, I mean 30 mil isn't a lot, but it's when you go the face edge, it's quite a lot. So whether we cut the lining to go on there, or whether I cut the lining to go on there, neighbour's having a bit of a bang with his boat. Oh no, I should rephrase that. Jings! The neighbour's doing some work on his boat. Oh, I'm back. Right. I used to get into trouble at work for this, you know. I used to get into real trouble. I am not politically correct in any shape or form. I hate it. I tend to call a spade, and some people just don't like that. I'd rather call a spade rather than earth moving equipment. Anyway, waffle. So I need to think about this before I put the lining up. What I might do is I might just put the lining up, cut the hole out, and then when I've made a decision later today, have a chat with Roma, see what she says. Then I can always add a piece of batting in there, just like that. And it also got me to think about the windows themselves. So I don't know if you can see that very well. So this lip is a weatherproofing lip. So when the windows, when the hatch is shut, there'll be a piece of trim in here that will go up against there. What I want to do is make sure that there's no metal edge showing. So whatever trim I do, I definitely want it to go over the edge of that metal hatch. And like everything else, there's a ton of ways to do it. You know, just put a piece of wood, leave it exposed, but I might do it that way, actually. And have it all the way out, and then have a piece of batten there. And then the oak trim there, but it takes away so much of the window, particularly when you're sitting at the dinette. I don't want another big chunk of wood there. I'd rather just have it nice and trim. And then you can put the picture frame border around it. And looking at it, there's little spots of rust there because the inside is just done with a basic grey oxide primer, whereas outside has had the full epoxy treatment, and it looks like it's the edge, but it just the spray didn't quite catch it. So I might sand that back and put a little bit of epoxy on it. Ideally paint it the same colour before I put any trim in. And that's kind of the decisions you need to make. So will I put that, I don't want to put the trim in until I've painted, but I need to cut the ply lining before I put the trim in, so I need to make a decision about the trim. What would you do? Mind you, by the time you see this, I've probably done it. Bit curious, absolutely curious. What would you do? I think my gut feel is I'm going to trim it to the edge here, and then when you guys have responded, I'll make a decision about the best way. You know, could even just be a piece of 9 or 12mm ply on there, just to make a nice border, and then you've got the oak on it. That might be an option, 12mm ply. I've got quite a lot of that. I've actually got quite a lot of 9mm ply as well. Yeah, anyway, so for now, I think I'll make the trim just to the hole, and we'll take it from there, because it's easy enough to come off and put back on again. Right, okay. So here's a better close-up. So, in there, nice piece of trim. I'm tempted to go for tulip wood, poplar, simply because the ply is poplar. And then down here, a little bit of a window ledge. Be nice. Yeah, anyway, that's my quandary on, just like the portholes, how deep do you need to make it? I got it up. That was hard work. Oh, heavy and hard, even with my little posts for standing. Puffed out a bit. Right, go and mark out the outside hole. Before I did this, the hatch. I did this side as well. I've made a discovery. I've made a discovery that the back wall slants that way. It's 1 inch from top to bottom out. So I had to scribe that in. That actually might impact some of my measurements for the galley and the electric cupboard. Hey-ho. What I've done between each panel, see look, screw holes, handy for that thingy. Anyway, what I've done between each panel is I've left, it's about 4mm expansion gap, 5mm. So when the wood heats and contracts, although it is a hot day today, so it might contract more than expand, but I've left a gap. Right, so just on the outside. It's definitely hot today, and made hotter by me being fat and old and lifting sheets of plywood. Bloody hell, that's hard work. Okay, so I'm going to cut the hole out. Now I don't have a plunge saw or a track saw. Maybe I should buy one, but for a couple of cuts. So I'm gonna attempt to do that using my circular saw. Should be good enough. I've done it before. Hey! Rough cut, to say the least, but it gives me, well, a lighter board that I can put up, but it also means I can trim it and fiddle it in when I've decided on the lining. That's alright, isn't it? Now it's only a rough cut. As you can see, I've just simply drawn the line there, and then when I figure out what I'm doing in here, I'll trim it back and make it nice and neat. That's a pretty good job for the day. You can see why getting that first one on is crucial to making everything else line up. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm very pleased with myself. And all of this reminds me is I better do something with the cable tray sooner rather than later. Yeah, those little stubs, they just need a piece of 6mm ply on them. But I'm gonna have to sit and do that really all the way along before I get any further, because it's just going to be a pain trying to retrofit it. Yeah, look at me, it's 29 degrees Celsius today. It's pretty hot, and lifting all this wood is hard work. So I think I need to stop here and do a bit of a tidy up. This is a bit of a safety red flag going on. So we'll tidy it all up. There's bits of sawdust and stuff. Put it all away neat. And then what I want to do is I'll just start sealing the edges of the cut wood so that if any moisture does get in it, it's not going to split. So it's the next day and I'm back in my garage. Did a bit of tidying up on the boat. Thank goodness. I like to tidy up at the end of the week and just get everything shipshape. No pun. But our neighbours and two boats around us came over for a bit of a chat, you know, at the end of the day chat, a couple of bottles of beer, and we sat in the sunshine on our deck. It was just brilliant. It was like, kind of reminded me why we're doing all of this, just to be able to sit on our deck, just chilling and having fun. So, back in the garage, it's a Saturday. It's the first Saturday really properly since we've come back from break. So we've got all the usual crap that you have to do when you've been away for a while. Laundry, housework, grocery shopping. So we're about to go and do all of that. What I'm going to do before then is I'm just going to continue on with prepping up the plywood lining. I've got 3 boards left to do, 2 to do, 1 on the go. I'll finish this one off, I'll start the others, and then we can get that into the boat next week. So I'm going to wrap up this week's video here because it is quite long with our little holiday snaps. I hope you quite liked them, actually. It's always a bit weird showing somebody your holiday snaps, isn't it? But, you know, yeah, we're learning this YouTubey thing. So, wrapping it up, thank you for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for the comments, and the comments last week were great, really helpful, very much appreciated. Kind of spurred me on a little bit, I have to confess, it was nice. And we'll see you next time.